Hommock's pool closing.
Mamaronec's record school budget has its final public hearing.
The taxing situation in both Mamaroneck and Larchmont.
An update on the area rapes and the search for the attacker continues.
Area women, listen up for the latest on Westchester's mammogram program.
Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Sven Oehme.
And I'm Roger Norum. Our top story. So what is the latest with the Hommock's pool, and what are the thousands of area residents holding pool permits going to do? To get the latest, here's an excerpt from this month's edition of the LMC-TV program of the town supervisor called On the Town.
The town printed a press release and deferred all aquatic registrations on a week ago Wednesday evening. Until such time that we really were able to reposition classes. It is our hope that in the next couple of weeks we will have some sort of announcement. In addition, we have been negotiating with several agencies, one of which is the County of Westchester, to secure swimming facilities for the summer camps and swim team. And we've got a verbal commitment that we will at least be able to satisfy those activities, which is obviously imperative this summer. We're in the throes of negotiating that out right now.
Now, excuse me, Bill, but we also, you in controlling the summer use of the pool, have been having the Larchmont's Flint Park kids come over and swim, and you've had Mamaroneck's co-op camp kids come in and swim.
We've had the special ed class through Carol Flores also swim, as well as the Straight Gate Church.
So that, in fact, all of those programs are now scrambling to find alternative
they are,
for the
excuse me, they are, but we as a town are trying to negotiate for their inclusion in any arrangements we make. And obviously we'll be making further announcements as to if we're able to secure any facilities for the summer if the Hommock's pool remains closed for the new permit year.
But we have a certain number of people who are, who swim several times a week, year-round.
Correct.
And what are we doing for those people who now have lost the months of May and June on their current permits?
For the families and lap swimmers, they should be pleased to know that the town has made the following alternate swim arrangements, which will carry them through their June expiration date. Beginning May 1 through June 26th at the Rye YMCA, which is located, folks, on 21 Locust Avenue in Rye, New York. The Rye YMCA will honor your valid Town of Mamaroneck seasonal pool permit. By displaying your card, you will get full privileges at the pool from May 1 through June 26th at the Rye YMCA. A schedule for the pool hours is available at the Town Recreation Office, and you can either call for that information to be sent to you, or you can stop by and pick it up during our normal business hours. In addition, you'll be glad to know that the Mid-Westchester YM and YWHA, which is located at 999 Wilmont Road in Scarsdale, New York, is once again opening up some what they call their sports facility passes, and has provided a set of passes to the Town Recreation Department, which we will issue on request to current permit holders. So if you would like to swim at the YWYMHA in Scarsdale on Wilmont Road, that's the Mid-Westchester facility, you can secure the sports facility pass at our office. We will be issuing them only at our office to valid permit holders. That also is effective May 1 and will go through Father's Day, June 21st. So at this particular point, and a schedule for that facility is also available for distribution and mailing. So,
now, are you mailing that information out to permit holders?
Yes, we will. We have an index card which will be our formal announcement that we're sending to all permit holders. Will be out shortly. We have obviously the press release in the paper, and we hope that this video show will help get the message out.
And now for a report on the more than $50 million budget being voted on by the Mamaroneck School Board this week. Here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Randy Norum.
Are you feeling the pinch as far as rising taxes are concerned? Join the group. The final Mamaroneck School Board meeting for hearing concerns regarding the budget was held last Wednesday. Several different groups within the community were drawn out. Members of the MHS Student Congress came out to plead for the retention of the position of Student Services Advisor. Students argued that this position is necessary for successful programs at the high school. At the other end of the spectrum, the senior citizens are concerned. As one individual stated, the bottom line is the budget keeps going up every single year. We are feeling the pinch. If you would like to see a copy of the budget, you may obtain copies at the superintendent's office. Remember to get out and vote on Tuesday, May the 20th.
Thanks, Randy. Sven?
There is good news this week in Mamaroneck about finances. The town reports in its annual financial report that spending declined by 4%. Revenues for the general town fund were also down, but only by 3%. In the end, the town was able to draw less from its surplus fund than anticipated. Roger?
Larchmont property taxes are going up, but also being held down. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Joe Chamberlain explains.
The Village of Larchmont property tax hike this year will be 2.6%. The village trustees adopted the $8.81 million budget last week. It calls for a tax rate of $148 for every $1,000 of assessed valuation. Even so, trustees Ken Bialo and Marion White voted against the budget, saying the property tax hike could have been cut more by using some of the village's surplus funds. Democrats contend the surplus is critical to maintain the Larchmont bond rating. The budget cutting has cost the job of Senior Center Director Ann Frimmett.
Thanks, Joe. Last week we reported on the proposed Mamaroneck village tax cut. Since then, the 1992-93 budget, including the tax cut, has been approved by the Board of Trustees. The tax rate per $1,000 of assessed property will be reduced by $8.35. As the library budget is not included in the village's budget anymore, there will be an additional tax collection for the budget of the library. The additional tax will be $8.82 per $1,000 of assessed property value. According to expert number crunchers, the overall decrease in your property bill is 0.0048%. Roger?
Area authorities are still looking for the attacker who raped 2 women in Larchmont and 1 in Pelham. It may be the same person in all incidents. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Barbara Brown has the story.
A year ago, the police in Larchmont were shocked when a rape was committed in the middle of the village. Another one occurred 4 months later. In both cases, the rapist is still at large. Concerned villagers formed a committee to assist the police and raised a reward fund. There have been no further incidents reported in Larchmont. On January the 14th, a rape was reported in Pelham. Larchmont Police Chief William Keresy was quoted in the Daily Times saying that the 3 rapes were committed by the same person. Pelham Chief Lieutenant Joseph Benefico is more cautious and doesn't rule out the possibility that the rapes in Larchmont and Pelham are not related. Both police forces are working on the cases. They are confident that they will bring the investigations to a successful end. The police warn that people in the areas should continue to be cautious.
Thanks, Barbara. Date rape and sex violence, issues that grab the headlines, and there's a group in the area literally acting to prevent them from happening. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Rita Blockton has an interview with Susan Wright Jameson, who's with the Beyond Band-Aids Road Company.
Susan, tell me a little bit about the production that you're involved in.
Well, the production is called Why to Sleep, and it's by the Beyond Band-Aids Road Company that I'm part of. And it's a 2-hour-long psychosocial dramatic program on date rape and sexual violence. And it's in 2 sections. Part 1 is a series of 16 vignettes or short scenes that depict various aspects of date rape, sexual violence, harassment, the cultural roots of all these things, etc. And then part 2 is a chance for the audience to dialogue with the characters that were in these assorted vignettes.
How often is this going to be done?
Right now we're doing it approximately twice a month. So.
And how are you being received?
Quite well so far.
A lot of strong response.
It really is. It's a big social problem, very damaging problem in our society that is unfortunately not being faced as much as it should be.
What audience are you trying to reach? What age?
Every age. I think it's everybody's problem,
Oh, yeah.
everybody's issues. At this point, we're doing, say, 16-year-olds and up. We have some material in the play that might be questionable. A few scenes with strong language, not terribly strong, but just, you know, that's where we're drawing the line.
I understand there's at least one person from Mamaroneck in the play.
Yes, there is.
And if people want to go, how do they get in touch with you, or what do they do?
They could call me. My number is 914-934-9026, and the two performances will be at the Ethical Culture Society on Sunday, May 17th, and at Empire State College on Friday, May 22nd.
The Democrats' enlargement won the elections in March, but financially the winners are the Republicans. Financial disclosure forms which were released recently show that the Democrats collected $935 between March 7 and April 12, while the Republicans raked in contributions of $2,175. According to the numbers published in the Daily Times, the Republicans had a $3,127 cash balance and an additional $728 outstanding bill on April 12 in their books. The Democrats totaled $1,169 and a $600 debt. Roger?
Mammograms can help prevent breast cancer, and there's a special program on this week. It should make it easy for all women to take a mammogram. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Eileen Deutsch has details.
Get a reduced cost mammogram. You can't afford not to. The American Cancer Society of the Westchester Division is sponsoring mammograms for women 35 years and older who have never had a mammogram before. For $40, you'll be able to get a mammogram, a physical breast exam, and breast self-examination instruction. This is all going to take place the week of May 4th to May 8th, this week when you're watching the show. And what you do is you call the number 949-4800, and they will tell you the place you can go where you can get these mammograms. There are 17 facilities in Westchester. Also, on May 5th and May 7th on Channel 36 right here, you can watch my show, Adjuvant Chemotherapy, that I taped 2 years ago, watching me get chemotherapy for breast cancer. So those of you who are 35 years and older and have never had it, please go and get one.
Thanks, Eileen. Remember those dates, May 4th to the 8th, and call 949-4800 for more details. Sven?
A new look for the Larchmont Library. Janice Arano has the story.
The Larchmont Library is planning a $1.6 million expansion. Under the plan, a building would be constructed behind the library, and the library would then be connected to the Village Senior Center. A new wing would also be added to the west side of the library. It all would double the 32 places reserved for adult seating, add some 6,000 square feet of space, and allow the addition of 6,000 new volumes. The Town of Mamaroneck Board votes on the plan May 6th and the Village Board May 18th. If approved, the project could be completed by this time next year.
An update on that big drug sweep in Mamaroneck Village, April 13th. 2 of the 7 suspects arrested in the raid entered guilty pleas to reduced charges. Cynthia Friend of Center Avenue in Mamaroneck admitted to a misdemeanor drug charge and will be sentenced in June. Grace Allen, also of Center Avenue, pleaded guilty to the same charge and was sentenced to 75 days in the Westchester County Penitentiary in Valhalla.
A construction worker involved in the I-95 contracting work in Mamaroneck Village was injured in a fall last week when he fell 18 feet from the thruway overpass onto Mamaroneck Avenue. The 32-year-old carpenter from Brewster may have fractured his pelvis and broken his right arm. It was the second incident in as many weeks in the thruway overpass work in Mamaroneck. In mid-April, a flag woman suffered a fractured arm and pelvis and face injuries when she was dragged by a car after being hit. The vehicle was exiting the thruway. Sven?
Larchmont Station Taxi gained another victory in the competition for parking spots at the train station over Leon's taxi service. The village board decided to grant a lease to Larchmont Station Taxi for a newly created taxi spot. Larchmont Station Taxi was the only applicant, but only because Leon's taxi service didn't know about it. The board seems to be in favor of Larchmont Station Taxi, however, according to the Daily Times, for a good reason. Over the years, several complaints have been filed against Leon's taxi service, but none against the competitor. Lyons has been in business for about 20 years, while Larchmont Station Taxi started out about a year ago.
Now that it appears Yonkers Contracting Company is going to finish up the work at the sewer plant in Mamaroneck a lot sooner than first thought, the village of Mamaroneck is putting its plans for park restoration into high gear. We hope to have a complete interview and plans for that restoration work on our program next week. Be sure to watch. A couple of items to think about. The plans may call for the moving of the tennis courts from their current location to the Harbor Island entrance. You might want to take note of the scheduled May 11th vote by the village trustees on just what the new look for Harbor Island will be. Sven?
Hispanics and a mentor program in the schools. Larchmont Mamaroneck School News reporter Monique Citron.
What can one student do to make a difference? A lot. Witness the Amigo program, the brainchild of 16-year-old Vanessa Acevedo of Mamaroneck High, who created the tutoring program for 35 Hispanic Mamaroneck Avenue school students with little or no English.
Tell us about the Amigos program.
The Amigos program is a program I've set up that involves both Mamaroneck High School students and students here at Mamaroneck Avenue School. 25 of us come down and tutor these kids who speak very little or no English for an hour a week in anything they may need help in.
And it's an all-volunteer program, and
Right.
you get high school students to come here and help these kids who have no way of getting help at home.
Right.
Eileen?
Well, I think it's a marvelous combination of high school and community, and we have students who are fluent in Spanish, who they themselves are bilingual, and we have students who are very fine in Spanish, whose names we got from their Spanish teachers. And we have about, I would say we have about 22 from the high school working with them. We need more. We're trying to recruit more. And we're about to try to get grants from some local companies to get some more money for some supplies. Right now we do have a bus that leaves from the high school and takes the students at 3 o'clock and brings them back to the high school at 4 o'clock. And we have money for, which was given to us by the superintendent of schools, Mr. Kolb, and by the PTA.
The Daily Times newspaper reports that Dominic Forty, a 28-year-old Mamaroneck Town police officer, has been charged with third-degree burglary. The charge stems from an incident a couple of Thursdays back at Gary's Barley Corn on North Avenue in New Rochelle. The bartender apparently was roughed up, but police say Forty was not involved in the assault. The Daily Times says New Rochelle police allege that Forty was one of several men who pushed their way into the bar on the early morning of April 4th. 6 were arrested. Forty is due in New Rochelle court May 18th. Sven?
Vandalism has hit again in the town of Mamaroneck. Railings and planks were recently torn off the bridges at the Leatherstocking Nature Trail alongside the Sheldrick River. So far, there are no suspects reported.
What's happening in the Rye Neck School District? The person in the know on the subject, Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Ed Stein.
It happens every spring, and sometimes it's a contest, sometimes it's not. I'm talking about the school board elections in Rye Neck. And guess what? 2 school board seats available, and only 2 candidates have filed to fill them. Ergo, no contest. But any changes? Yes and no. Board member Kathleen Galata, who just completed her first 3-year term on the board, wants to finish many of the projects she helped initiate in Rye Neck schools. So as an incumbent, she will retain her school board seat. Now, Janice Anderson, an independent traffic manager, filed to fill the seat being vacated by Miles Fetterman, who had served on the board for 7 years. Anderson, incidentally, was one of the more vocal parents who spoke out for the district conducting a national or regional search for a successor to outgoing Superintendent Frank Tassone. But that's another story. More on that search next week.
You better be warming up to recycling, because come September, recycling will be a must, mandated by law. To get a hint of what we can expect, Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Joe Chamberlain has prepared a 3-part series on recycling. Here's part 1.
For the next few weeks, we will be visiting with Environmental Coordinator for the town of Mamaroneck, Claudia Ng. We will focus on recycling. Welcome, Claudia.
Hi.
Tell me, what is the basic reason for recycling?
Well, primarily because we have a lot of garbage. It's been determined that residents of the town of Mamaroneck and village of Larchmont generate about 4 pounds of garbage per person per day. And if you add all those up, we're talking about over a half a ton per year per person. And then when you add up a family of 4 per household, we're talking about 2 tons of garbage per year. Goodness. So we're talking about a lot of garbage. So originally we had, I guess, just general open dumping of our garbage. We then went to landfills, which is just a more formalized version of open dumping where they're constantly lining and capping. From there we also branched off into incineration, burning away the garbage. And then they got smarter still and decided to try to save the energy that was, you know, that the burning created. And
this is called resource recovery, right?
yeah, yes, the county has created a resource recovery facility in Peekskill, and that's where our garbage is going to right now.
And incinerated at that point.
Yeah, it's burned, and then the energy is captured from the burning to turn into electricity.
But there's still waste with that, right?
Exactly. There is still at least 10% of what they call slag and ashes. And of course, there's all those other controversies about air and just where you're going to put the ashes, which may be even more toxic than the original material.
I see. We're running out of landfill space, right? I mean,
yep, that's right. New York State has closed many of its landfills, and then there's a problem of opening new landfills because you have this NIMBY syndrome, not in my backyard. So we can't site new facilities as easily as we did in the past.
what are the benefits of recycling, Claudia?
Well, primarily you're saving in natural resources. For example, it takes up to 20,000 trees to make just one edition of the New York Times. So that's one thing. Then we're also saving energy. Okay, I'll give you another example. Aluminum. It would take, I guess it saves about 90 to 97% of energy to make new aluminum from old aluminum as opposed to digging it out of the ground.
And it takes quite a bit of energy to make one aluminum can, so that's, if you're saving 90%, 97%,
yeah,
that's really a great savings, isn't it?
It certainly is. And there's been a translation done for how much barrels of oil you would save. And we're talking about 40 barrels of oil per ton of aluminum.
The rummage sale is scheduled for this weekend at St. Thomas Episcopal Church in Mamaroneck. As the Reverend Sheila Biggs told Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, the sale is held on May 7th and May 8th, starting at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Reverend Biggs, who is new to Mamaroneck, is replacing Reverend William Cope on an interim basis. Reverend Cope left for a new position in Memphis early this year. We will be talking to Reverend Biggs in one of our future news shows. This is as good a time as any to tell you that if you have a news story or an interesting event coming up, give us a call, let us know, so that we can mention it here on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. The grounds at the Murray Avenue School are alive with frolicking youngsters due to the hard work of their PTA. With more on that, here is LMC News reporter Lynn Goodman.
The kids at Murray Avenue Elementary School are having a swinging time in their new playground. The playground was built in a week over spring break. The school PTA conceived of the idea. A committee headed by Mary Lou Biacco and Amy Sheeler collected $50,000 to build it. They asked the kids what kind of equipment they wanted and hired Children's Playground Incorporated to put it all together. The playground was dedicated in a ceremony last week, and the kids love it so much, they're out there day and night.
News of the silver screen, the latest movie hits to hit our area playhouses. Our own Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News entertainment reporter, Pat McAlizzi.
Robert Altman's latest film, The Player, has a pretty big cast for a relatively small film. With actors' salaries being a huge expense for films these days, how did Altman pay for nearly 50 of Hollywood's hottest stars? Well, it was easy. He threw a huge party for a large group of celebrities. Invitations were sent out to everyone who was anyone in Tinseltown. There was one catch, however. The entire party was shot as a scene for the movie, with the stars acting as themselves. Among the celebrities appearing in the film included Cher, Julia Roberts, and Burt Reynolds, and dozens more. In The Player, Tim Robbins stars as a film studio executive that becomes involved in the murder of an aspiring screen actor. It pokes fun at Hollywood politics and shows you the things that they never wanted you to see.
We're talking about American movies.
All right, back it up.
Reno, please.
I've got Telescope.
Hi, Buck. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. What do you got for me?
Okay, here it is. The Graduate, Part 2.
Oh, good.
Now listen, the three principals are still with us. Dustin Hoffman, Anne Bancroft, Catherine Ross. 25 years later. And so are the characters. Ben, Elaine, and Mrs. Robinson. Ben and Elaine are married. Still, they live in a big, old, spooky house up in Northern California somewhere. And Mrs. Robinson lives with them. Her aging mother, who's had a stroke.
Mrs. Robinson
has a stroke, so she can't talk.
It's going to be funny?
Yeah, it'll be funny.
With
Dark
a stroke?
and weird and funny and with a stroke.
Okay.
Maybe it's not a stroke. Maybe it's, I don't know what
Anyway,
it is.
go on.
It's a malady of some sort.
Okay.
She's up there in the
I'm sure that's really how it happens. Robert Altman, who may be best known for directing such films as MASH, Nashville, and Vincent and Theo, has another hit on his hands.
Thanks, Pat. And that's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Remember that if you missed any portion of this program, you can catch it again at 10 a.m. Monday through Saturday, and every weekday night at 7 p.m. and midnight. There's a new program every Monday. Also, this program is a voluntary effort and a fun way to give back to the community. If you think you might want to check us out, stop by the cable TV studios in the Mamaroneck High School, Palmer Avenue side, just up the stairs from Walter's Hot Dogs. Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Nora.
And I'm Sven Oehme.
No new taxes for Mamaroneck Village and a new plan for Harbor Island Park. We'll show you what's in and what's out and talk about the possibilities.
How to cut the budget in the town of Mamaroneck and whether it's all a political game.
An update on the Hommocks Pool problem and the problem with that contractor.
Why John Kluge wants a building permit for Premium Point, even though he doesn't want to build there.
And the question of the week, should a fireman take his fire engine to lunch?
Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Bill Littauer.
And I'm Roger Norum. Our top story, the village of Mamaroneck gets a new budget and some good tax news. Also, some ideas being tossed around on what kind of new look Harbor Island should have. To get a fill-in, Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News spoke with the newly elected village trustee, Joe Lanza.
No increase this year.
Well, that's good
Roger,
news.
we had $1 million come in from the tax revenue, extended 1% tax revenue, which really helped the village out quite a bit. And as you know, we wanted to pass that on to the community. Instead of putting it in a reserve fund, we feel that the community was in dire need of some tax relief, and that's exactly what we did.
Is there any reserve fund at all?
There is a reserve fund because there was we had tax revenue come in from last year, which is about $500,000, which is in the reserve fund.
Okay. The other, you have a village board meeting coming up May 11th, where you'll be deciding on two different choices here for renovations at Harbor Island.
That's right, the Harbor Island upgrade. We had Frank Fish, our planning consultant.
And there's a couple diagrams here. This is one proposal, and then next to it is another proposal. Why don't we go right to them and tell us a little bit about the entrance to Harbor Island and the one proposal here?
Sure. Well, the first is let me just say that both schemes are basically the same. The concepts may be a little bit different. But we're looking at concept 2 here, and the enhancement of the beginning of the park with an island and trees on both sides and also in the middle. And as you come down, Roger, to the left of that, and may I point right here, where there is, it looks like a little parking area, there is room there for either a small park or for a small restaurant.
Is that the chart house proposal is still alive?
That's the chart house proposal is very much alive. They are very interested in coming in, and if we can work out some financial problems, we'll have them come in.
Okay, then we come down to the slip here, and then there's parking for trailers?
Yes, what had happened was there's a new parking area on the right side as you come down, so that the trailers, after the people put their boats in the water, they can park their trailers out of the way of the road.
And then swing around.
And then swing around and come up. There's also parking which would be behind the sewage treatment plant, 56 spots that may be used for permit parking, because we will be eliminating 14 spots up at the entrance of the park.
Get out of your car and avoid the smell real quickly.
That's it. You got it. Run fast.
And under one proposal, this is the tennis courts would be moved to this area here?
Yes, that's one proposal. It's a $350,000 proposal, which right now I don't think is feasible, and we'll probably stay away from it. It's something that can be done at a later date if we wanted to.
If tennis courts don't go in here, this would be a soccer field.
That would be a soccer field, yes.
You have the same baseball diamond here, and a couple other soccer fields.
Right, which would be re-enhanced and rebuilt.
Right.
Yes.
And then the soccer field. What are the major changes down here closer to the beach?
Okay, well, first, as you first come in, there will be trees to enhance this parking lot here. That existing parking lot, some trees and some little mediums in the center of the parking lot. And as you come down this access road here, as you can see, the access road will serve the pavilion and the restaurant, which will be moved from the west side of the beach.
Walter's hot dog stand will no longer be there.
Will no longer be there. And as you also can see, where the Red Cross building was, in this area, it would now be a little playground. So people on the beach who have their kids can go into the playground and play.
And then in this area is where the new boom would go?
Right. The Gunda boom will go in this area. It will not go across the whole beach. It will be a section of about 600 feet of beach. We do not know exactly where on the beach we will put that yet.
Of course, that's probably a good way to test out to see how well it does work.
Oh, definitely. Right. Most definitely. Most definitely.
Okay, so when is all this coming to fruition, no matter which plan you decide on?
Okay, well, May 11th, which is next week, we will be voting on the scheme, not the concepts. We will have some board meetings on the concepts. We want some input from different people and see how they feel about the two different concepts and the moving of the tennis courts and the soccer field.
So any area resident that who may have an idea about what ought to be done there,
sure,
they should be in touch with any village trustee.
Sure, they should be in touch with the village trustees or come to the board meeting.
A reminder to any area residents with ideas for Harbor Island to attend a village board meeting and let your trustees hear you. Bill?
It looks like the Hommocks pool will be closed for the entire summer. We asked Mamaroneck Town trustee Paul Ryan for an update on the pool situation.
Paul, it looks like the pool is going to be closed all summer. What can the town do about it?
Right now, very little, Bill. We're looking into it with the school board. Caroline Silverstone and Steve Altieri are having breakfast next week with Norman Kolb, school superintendent, and we're going to do everything we can to get it as open as quickly as possible and ensure that it's that a good job is done this time.
And now, what recourse does the town have? Do you sue the school board? Do you sue the contractor? Who do you go after? It certainly looks like negligence here.
Well, if you sue the school board, from a taxpayer standpoint, you're taking out of one pocket to put into the other. However, if there is negligence and someone else is to blame, for instance, the contractor, or if we could go after the bonding company, that's a different story altogether. There seems to be negligence. This was just done last year, and already we're having problems. And it's a great inconvenience to the residents during the summer. On hot days, 3,000 to 4,000 people can use that pool.
All right, that brings up the next question. Where do they go?
Well, we've arranged a deal with the Scarsdale and Rye clubs to honor the permits up through June.
This is the YMHA in Scarsdale and the YMCA, I think it is in Rye, right?
Yes, and you know, we'll be paying a fee to them to allow our pool pass holders to swim there. After June, that's something that we're going to have to work out. I mean, 4,000 people a day is a lot to load on to any one municipal or club pool. So we're trying to figure out ways of spreading it out. And Bill Zimmerman, our recreation director, and all the town staff is working very hard on it.
When it comes to contractors, the Mamaroneck School District has had its problems with that contractor in particular. Atlantic Contracting of Queens did successfully complete at least one school district job, but it's botched up several others. The most visible one to the community now is the tile job at the Hommocks Pool. That contract, worth about $250,000, will probably have to be completely redone. Another bungled contract for Atlantic, a more than $500,000 job to renovate the high school offices and an elevator and replace fire doors in several buildings. Atlantic also got a nearly $1 million contract for work in Central School and roof work at Chatsworth, Murray, and Hommocks School. Other contractors have had to be brought in to finish the work left undone by Atlantic. The bonding companies will pay to complete the work.
There will be no ban on trucks using Murray Avenue between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. The Mamaroneck Town Board killed a proposal for the restrictions. Trustees say there was so much opposition from residents of other streets, they realized they would only be shifting the burden from one area to another. Residents of Weaver Street, Rockingstone, and North Chatsworth feared that keeping trucks off Murray Avenue would only divert the noise and hazard to their neighborhoods.
The issue of whether the Sarah Newman Nursing Home should pay property taxes is far from settled. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Oehme has that report.
At the end of March, Mamaroneck Village Board decided not to grant tax-exempt status to the Sarah R. Newman Nursing Home on Palmer and Rockland Avenues. Now lawyers for the nursing home are fighting back. The Village Board had reached its unanimous decision in March because, according to the board, the nursing home did not meet the burden of proof to show eligibility. As the Sarah R. Newman Nursing Home Complex is assessed at $1 million, this relates to about $120,000 in taxes for the upcoming fiscal year. The lawyers for the nursing home have filed an appeal to the decision of the Village Board with State Supreme Court in White Plains.
Town of Mamaroneck officials have taken the traditional political route to a difficult problem. They formed a blue ribbon committee to study it. But in this case, they may get some useful suggestions. The problem is how to cut the town's $14.4 million budget. Supervisor Carolyn Silverstone has appointed a budget advisory committee with some high-powered bankers, lawyers, and accountants to suggest some solutions. The members are Bonnie Robinson, Tom Birdzell, Arthur Giannunzio, Norman Lavin, Joan Leeds, Harold Cook, and Thomas Christian. But the appointments have generated some political flack. Town Republican Chairman John Perrone charges that Valerie O'Keefe was denied a position on the committee as part of a blatant political maneuver. O'Keefe is a Republican who came close to winning a seat on the town board last November. Supervisor Silverstone defended her appointments on the basis of financial and budget expertise. Perrone claims O'Keefe developed an expertise in what the voters want during the last campaign. Roger.
The new state recycling law takes effect September 1. To help us get ready for the new system, Joe Chamberlain has the second part of his three-part interview with Town Environment Coordinator Claudia Ng.
I'm here once again with Claudia Ng, Environmental Coordinator for the Town of Mamaroneck. Tell me, Claudia, what is the village and town doing about recycling at this point?
Okay, well, we have a depot that is open Monday through Saturdays, and you can bring in newspapers, glass, plastics, corrugated cardboard, small metals such as tin cans, and even a place for batteries we have. you can either bring those things down at your convenience, or if you like have a lot of newspapers, we do provide curbside pickup of newspapers every Wednesday, and you're to put out your newspapers by 7 a.m. that morning, or else you could bring it out Tuesday night. And if you have like a lot of like bulk metals, you could also call for a special pickup with the highway department, and they will come pick up your bulk metals, and you can also put in your small metals with that. Or if you accumulated a lot of small metals, you can do that.
This information is in a booklet, I believe, that you provide
That's
residents.
right. Back in, I guess in April of last year, a year ago, we, I don't know if you could see that, we sent out this practical guide to recycling in Mamaroneck and Larchmont. And it just goes step by step. It explains the different types of materials that we do take and how to prepare them and where to bring them or how to dispose of them.
So it's a good source to refer to.
Yes.
Tell me, do you have in your head any idea of the tonnages so far that have, through the recycling program?
Well, I can give you 1991 figures. They're not in my head, but they're right on this piece of paper right here. The town of Mamaroneck and the village of Larchmont recycled in 1991 1,000 tons of newspaper, 86 tons of glass, 226 tons of metal, 40 tons of cardboard, 13 tons of plastic, and about a half a ton of batteries. So we're doing a lot of recycling as it is, and this is all voluntary right now.
And this is what's going on so far.
That's correct.
Communications billionaire John Kluge has applied to the town of Mamaroneck for a building permit on Premium Point. But Kluge doesn't really want to build a house there. In fact, he tore down the 11-room house that was there so he could expand his mansion next door. He's gone through the $4,000 filing procedure as part of his attempt to sell the lot. A New Rochelle couple agreed to buy the lot in 1990 for $800,000, but then was told the septic system was beyond repair and they were unlikely to get the necessary environmental permits to fix it. Now they've filed suit to recover their deposit and expenses and a couple of $100,000 more for damages. Roger?
Some action has been taken to find a new school superintendent in Rye Neck. We get the latest from Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Ed Stein.
And now an update on the search in Rye Neck for a new school superintendent to succeed Dr. Frank Tassone, who is leaving June 30th to become school superintendent of the Roslyn, Long Island school system. The good news is the search is underway. A consultant has been hired, and he is Bruce Bothwell of Focus Consulting Associates in Carmel, New York. Bothwell is himself a former school superintendent. He headed the North Salem schools once, and he will also be helped by Jacqueline Roy, another consultant from Cambridge, Mass. Between the two of them, they will be screening candidates who would best serve such a special and small district like Rye Neck. Already ads have been run in the New York Times and in some educational journals. June 5th, incidentally, is the deadline for all applicants. The process of sifting through the candidates and cutting down the list to a final 4 or 5 will be completed by June 15th. Then the finalists' interviews begin, with separate interviews of these candidates with the Board of Education members, teacher committees, parent committees, student committees, and custodian committees. And then come the recommendations and the debates about who is the most qualified of them all. With fingers crossed, the hope is that the chosen educator, whoever he or she may be, will be appointed by the board by mid-July. But who will be running the schools from July 1 until the prime candidate is found and signs a contract? Well, that's next week's story.
Thanks, Ed. The Mamaroneck School Board election is almost upon us, and to help keep us up on the issues, Monique Citron interviewed 2 candidates for the school board, Benson Bealey and Jeff Olafson.
Benson, why do you want to be on the school board?
Well, I've attended meetings for the last 6 years as the education reporter for the Soundview News, and I have, I think, in my business background, some experience in handling multi-million-dollar budgets, and I think putting those 2 things together has given me, will give me an opportunity to make some contributions to the board.
You've been going to all the meetings as well as the study sessions, I understand.
That's right. I've been going to all the meetings, all the study sessions for about 6 years.
Are there any issues that have loomed over that period of time or are important right now that
Well,
interest you?
certainly the space issue, which apparently is taken care of for the next couple of years, it will still be a major issue. all the time prudent fiscal management is an issue. And then there are some educational issues which certainly require additional examination and evaluation. Possibly the business education department, possibly a review of the primary program, and to see that the changes were fully implemented. And there are a few other things that I think the board will look at as well.
Jeff, what is your background and what made you run for the school board?
Well, I was a former teacher and a dean at the Catherine Gibbs School in Norwalk. And in fact, I'm an educational consultant who works with school districts throughout the East Coast, and I have a strong interest in education. It's hard to be involved in districts as a consultant without taking a lot of interest, and you know, I'm concerned about local issues.
I know you're new to the area, and I wonder what resources you feel you'll be able to contribute to the school board.
Well, I think that, you know, everybody brings a different thing to the plate when they come to a school board, and I think that I have my experience both as a teacher and as an educational consultant, and the fact that I'm out there seeing districts in other places will provide some diversity to a board that generally tends to be made up of people who've been long-time activists in parents' associations, etc.
There are several issues of major concern, which just a couple of which, you know, are the rising taxes. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Many thoughts. I was at the meeting last night, and clearly many people are very concerned about the rising taxes. In the last few years, it's really gotten out of hand, and I can understand people's concerns about that. I think that some of what's ended up happening is that the school board and local issues are about the only ones we get to really vote on. And what happens is people feel they take all their frustrations out. I think a lot of the blame really belongs in Albany, and that we really need to become more assertive as a community and let the politicians know that we're fed up with them playing games with us.
Thank you, Monique. Larchmont seniors are still seething over the firing of Senior Center Director Ann Frimmett. Larchmont Mayor Cheryl Louie and Town Supervisor Caroline Silverstone maintain that dismissing Frimmett was a good budget decision, saving the two jurisdictions $13,000. They say women from the Office of Community Services will take care of the center, and nothing will really change. But the seniors who packed a meeting on the subject last week still feel they're losing something. And the dismissal was apparently more than just a budget decision. Frimmett says she was ousted because of a personality problem with Supervisor Silverstone, and the supervisor concedes that she wanted tighter control over administration of the senior center.
There will be no charge from now on for community groups who use the Weaver Street Firehouse Auditorium. In the past, the fire department charged nonprofit groups $15 for use of the hall. The town ordered them to drop the charge, but groups will be liable for any damages they cause. Bill?
If you can take a company car to run a personal errand, should Larchmont firemen be able to use a village fire truck to go to lunch? Some people don't think so. Sven Oehme looked into that story.
The new fire trucks in Larchmont are creating an issue in the village. Firefighters use them to buy lunch or to run personal errands. The board under Mayor and Fire Commissioner Cheryl Louie has asked the fire department to curtail any use of the fire trucks for personal business and to come forth with guidelines on the use of the trucks. The village board wants to keep wear and tear of the new and expensive equipment as low as possible and wants it only to be used for emergencies. The firefighters argue that there is a need for most of the runs of the trucks even when they are not involved in an emergency activity. They will have to do a lot of explaining if they want to convince the village board of their use of the trucks for getting lunch or some errands.
Mamaroneck Village Police think some auto break-ins a couple Mondays back may be related. 5 break-ins were reported all in Orienta. A car telephone was stolen in one case and radios taken in the other 4 car thefts. Bill?
A landmark Mamaroneck church has now been recognized officially as just that, a state historical landmark. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Joe Chamberlain has that story.
Reverend Bill Shillady, pastor of the Mamaroneck United Methodist Church, has informed LMC-TV that his church, located at 546 East Boston Post Road, has received state landmark status. The Mamaroneck United Methodist Church was built in 1859 and is a wood frame structure which retains its original setting. It is a prime example of Gothic Revival architecture. In May 1991, the church was granted landmark status by the village of Mamaroneck, And now with the same state classification, it is most likely to receive a listing on the National Register of Historic Places. This new status means the church can apply for and receive a wider range of grants, which would be applied toward the up to $1.5 million the church expects to spend for its major restoration over the next 3 to 5 years. It is hoped this work be completed in time for the 225th anniversary of the church, which, although now at its third site, was founded by Francis Asbury in 1771.
Some Larchmont tennis courts need repair, and because they couldn't be done in April, the job will be done during the summer. Sven Oehme has that story and more news.
Currently, tennis players in Larchmont's Flint Park have to play on tennis courts that show cracks in the paved surface. Repairs had originally been planned for April. Contractors that the village spoke to advised that because of the need of better weather for doing the repair work would have to start in May. As May and June are the busiest months of the tennis season, the repairs have been postponed until August. Over the years, Halstead Avenue at the Mamaroneck train station had become a job market for Hispanic day laborers seeking employment by contractors or gardeners. After complaints from commuters and local residents, the village, the police, and community groups tried to find a solution to the problem. Just last week, an arrangement was started that has the workers assemble in Columbus Park on the other side of the train depot. The ultimate goal still is to find a hiring hall.
That fire a couple weeks back that pretty much wiped out the top floor of the offices in the Rockledge office building on Harrison Avenue in Mamaroneck has forced the village mayor, Paul Noto, to relocate his attorney's practice to 21 Boston Post Road. The mayor says his office was totally destroyed, but he did manage to rescue his computer disks and some files. Also suffering extensive water damage was the office of Dr. Alan Singer, who practiced out of the Rockledge building with sound chiropractic. Mamaroneck's United Methodist Church has let Dr. Singer set up shop in the church's education center temporarily.
The Larchmont historical marker is in place. Janice Arano tells us where it is and what it means for the village.
Those passing by Village Hall in Larchmont will notice that the New York State Highway marker presented by the Larchmont Historical Society at last year's centennial has been installed. Last Sunday, May 3rd, the marker was unveiled by Society President Helga Soldier and Mayor Cheryl Louie, as village historian Judith Spikes commented. On behalf of the members of the Larchmont Historical Society, I'm delighted to present this highway marker to the village of Larchmont. Its brief message summarizes Larchmont's rich history. Larchmont Manor, 288-acre shore community, surveyed by Frederick Law Olmsted, developed in 1872 by the Larchmont Manor Company, incorporated as Village of Larchmont, 1891. This marker is installed within steps of Village Hall, where it will inform visitors of where they are and forever remind Larchmonters of who they are.
Small communities such as ours depend on a lot of volunteer help to get things done. So tonight, we salute those citizens of the village of Larchmont who have agreed to serve on various committees and boards. Most recent appointments include Joan Faulkner to the Library Board of Trustees, Sarah Berman, Joseph Marola, and Kenneth Mayer to the Budget Committee, Glenna Gray to the Human Rights Commission, Richard Trent and Jeffrey Weiner to the Reservoir Committee, Alain Sasson, Alan Shapiro, Jacqueline Cooperman, Antonio Acevedo, and Andy Brenner to the Recreation Committee, and Melanie Snedkoff and Thomas Deek to the Parks and Trees Committee.
That's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Remember, if you missed any portion of this news program, you can see it again, Monday through Saturday at 10 a.m., also Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. and midnight, right here on this very same channel, LMC-TV, Channel 36.
Also, we would like to remind you that this news program is an all-volunteer effort and a fun community activity. You might want to take a look at how we put the program together, and you can. Not this Thursday, but most every other Thursday night around 7 o'clock.
We're located in the Palmer Avenue side of Mamaroneck High School, the LMC-TV studio, just up the stairs from Walter's Hot Dogs. Stop by and say hello.
Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Bill Littauer, and we'll see you again next time, at the same time and place.
Shooting kills manager of Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club.
$50 million school budget passes Mamaroneck voters.
The town votes to get a new fire truck.
The cost of turning on your water faucet goes up again.
A rescue helicopter lands at Harbor Island. Just a drill.
And the new anti-pollution boom arriving for Harbor Island Beach.
Those stories and more on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Hello and welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Bill Littauer.
And I'm Roger Norham. Our top story, murder at the Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club. It happened sometime between late last Wednesday night and Thursday morning. The 52-year-old manager of this club, David Lauk, shot and killed and found lying in front of the hallway.
Laying on his back in his cottage, and it looked like he was shot through the head because there was a lot of blood in the head area. And with that, the detectives arrived and they took over the full investigation.
Chief, is there any idea of a possible motive?
At this point, we can't seem to find a motive because we didn't find any evidence of a forced entry. We didn't find any evidence of a struggle, and also we didn't find anything that we know of that may have been stolen, because there was jewelry and money in the house and so on. So we don't know at this time what the motive was. We suspect at this time that Mr. Laux did know whoever the person was, who the murderer was.
The murder has shocked club members.
Hard to believe. You see him one day and the next day he's not there. It's, the club is, everyone is just bewildered. We just can't believe that it happened. Just can't concentrate on what you're doing. You know, people are playing tennis, but he's just a talk at a club. You know, it's going to be a while before people can really concentrate on activities at the club.
He was friendly, was well-spoken, he was dignified, and it's a very shocking thing. It's totally out of left field, as our culture seems to be so wrought and fraught by this, by violence and by the solution of problems, whatever they be, through violence. It's very distressing.
As Mamaroneck Police Chief Joseph Del Bianco said, at this time they do not have an apparent motive for the murder, but he's confident that his detective bureau, 5 police officers headed up by Lieutenant Ed Flynn, will crack this case. Roger Norham for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Time now for school news and the passing of the largest budget ever in the Mamaroneck School District. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News school news reporter Monique Citron has the story.
In a close vote, in fact by a margin of only 84 votes, Rhinebeck voters approved next year's $12.2 million budget, 300 to 216. Talk about low voter turnout. 2 new trustees were elected in the uncontested school board election, Kathleen Galata and Janice Anderson. Each received more than 300 votes. In Mamaroneck, the budget was also passed, 1,228 to 904. Superintendent Owen Kolb said he was somber because he was uncertain about the budget being passed. And in fact, there was a low voter turnout in Mamaroneck as well. Both candidates for the school board, Benson Bealey and Jeff Ellison, were handily elected.
Several news items in the town of Mamaroneck this past week. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News spoke with Deputy Town Supervisor Elaine Price. First, about the town residents voting for a new fire truck costing about $180,000. Voters in the unincorporated area feel we should have a new fire truck.
They do indeed, and resoundingly so. I think the vote was 173 for and 15 against.
And I understand it was also the biggest turnout you've had in years?
I think it's the biggest turnout ever. Don't quote me on that, but I think the next largest turnout was 79 or 76. So.
To vote on such an item?
To vote on any item relating to the fire district. So.
Okay. So now, when will the fire people in the town of Mamaroneck have a new fire truck?
Well, it takes a little time. I would say within 4 or 5 months.
What is the town doing about, it looks as if the Hommocks Pool is going to be closed for the summer. What is the recreation department of the town doing to accommodate residents?
They're making an awful lot of phone calls, and they're working very hard to see what we can do. Our first priority is our summer camps, and we believe we have that covered. Our second priority is our special aquatics programs, and we hope we're going to have that covered. And the residents, there are means at their disposal. There's the Scarsdale Y and the Y.
It's rather limited, though, I understand.
Absolutely. It is limited, and there is no doubt that our residents will be disadvantaged this summer because of the school
district's Will they be getting credit or refunds, or if what accommodations might be made in that department?
Yes, they will. We have to sit and walk through all of the finances, and they may get a credit for the pool pass for next year. There may be some refunding, and we have to see where we are on that, and if some of our residents use the facilities in Rye or Scarsdale, for example. So that's going to take a lot of bookkeeping and long-term projections as well.
Elaine Price, thanks for being with us on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Thank you.
You know, Larchmont just took possession of a new fire engine 2 months ago, and it's already planning to buy another one. But this time, the village trustees hope to get a better price than the $250,000 spent on their new Pierce Arrow. Fire Chief Eric Verhave says the fire truck committee has gone back to work shaving the specifications, and a new bid should be solicited by the middle of June. The chief wants to replace engine 33. That's a 1958 Mack pumper. That truck has been modified and refurbished, but he says it still has brake and pump problems. Roger?
Expansion of the Larchmont Library gets delayed. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Joe Chamberlain says the reason is a familiar one: dollars and cents.
Those eagerly awaiting the $1.6 million expansion of the Larchmont Public Library face a damper or two. The plans to expand were put on the table first in 1990, but timing is everything. And it seems that due to there being no meeting of the minds between library trustees and Mamaroneck town officials regarding a shared services contract, the public faced a delay of said expansion until 1994. Also, $450,000 must be raised in order to secure needed loans. Now the good news. The construction would provide more seating space in a new building and enough shelf space for 6,000 new volumes over the next 12 years. Except for the fundraising, all this could be possible as soon as April 1993 through a creative financing scheme suggested by Larchmont trustee Ken Biello, who is also a library expansion subcommittee member. Stay tuned for developments.
It's going to cost more to water your lawn this summer. The town of Mamaroneck has approved an 18.4% increase in water rates. The town board says the extra money is needed to pay for rate increases expected from the city of New York and to pay for $5.4 million in improvements to the pumping and pipeline system. A customer who pays $40.23 per quarter would pay $47.64 under the new rates.
Mamaroneck's Village Washingtonville Housing Alliance has given up some rights to property. For more, here's Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Oehme.
In an attempt to end an ongoing quarrel about a property at 129 Madison Street, the Washingtonville Housing Alliance has announced that it would give up its right to buy the property. This will benefit Kingsbridge Homes, Inc., the other party to the quarrel. But the alliance set a condition. Kingsbridge Homes is to market the townhouses that they intend to build below a $100,000 cap. Kingsbridge Homes is considering the proposal.
Mamaroneck Town Police keeping their eyes peeled for a couple burglary suspects. The two are believed responsible for at least 5 Palmer Avenue apartment break-ins last Tuesday. There were 5 burglaries at the apartment complex at 1299 Palmer Avenue the afternoon of May 19th. In view of this story, area police would like to remind residents to show caution and request identification before admitting strangers into an apartment complex.
The man who has served for 12 years as youth advocate for kids in the Mamaroneck School District has been honored by the Larchmont Rotary Club. Bill Riley was given the club's Max Blum Award, but ironically, Riley is almost out of a job now. The Mamaroneck Town Board isn't funding Riley anymore. He's still working at it part-time, though, and the village of Larchmont has appropriated $4,000 to pay him starting June 1st. Riley works with teenagers having trouble at home or with their peers and who may be susceptible to drug or alcohol addiction.
Mandatory recycling looms ever closer to the September deadline. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Joe Chamberlain has the third installment of his three-part series on the subject. Joe?
We're going to discuss the future of recycling in the community. Claudia, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, well, by September 1st of 1992, New York State has mandated that all communities must have recycling programs, which means that right now we're looking at increasing our recycling facilities and provisions. The county is coming up with, or building, a materials recovery facility, otherwise known as a MRF. You'll be hearing more about that. And what essentially that does is it sorts combined or commingled recyclables. And we're looking at being able to pick up then glass, metals, and plastics all together in one container. And then newspapers and cardboard would be a separate collection.
And
that could be
I'm sorry, that would be combined.
Yes, that would be put together. So you're looking at an addition of just two I guess, places that you'd have to set aside garbage. But I want to emphasize that you're not increasing the amount of garbage you're holding, it's just that you're separating them out, okay? So it's not going to be more garbage you're storing per week, just just separating.
I want to backtrack for a second. This is mandatory for all households to participate in this?
That's all for the entire New York State, yes. We all have to do recycling now.
I see. I understand you're putting together a survey related to this?
That's right. Well, in order to integrate the garbage collection and the recycling collection, because we will now be doing it at curbside, we're trying to get a feel of what the community residents want in terms of collection. And so for the past couple of weeks, we've had a number of volunteers calling homes at random to get their opinions about various ways that we can collect the recyclables and how to prepare them, whether to bring it to the curb or to keep it at back door. So we're going to have a forum on May 19th. It's sponsored, I think, by the League of Women Voters and Life Center, where the results will be presented, and also our first draft of what we're going to do in September.
That proposed new parking lot along the railroad tracks in Larchmont is still not a done deal. The new lot along North Avenue would add 33 spaces, but the village has to go into partnership with the MTA, and that has been the sticking point. The latest hang-up is whether the village and the MTA would share responsibility for paying off the cost of the lot, or whether the village would bear the larger share. Negotiations have been going on now for 2 years. Roger?
Town of Mamaroneck civil servants looking at fatter paychecks. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Oehme explains.
Mamaroneck Town Board recently approved pay raises for employees. On average, the increase is about 3.6%. Town administrators received increases of 3%, while clerical and technical employees see raises of between 4.2 to 5.5%.
Rescue 911 comes flying into Mamaroneck at Harbor Island this past week. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Pat Michelizzi with details.
I'm here at Harbor Island, right here in the village of Mamaroneck, where the fire department is conducting an air rescue training program for its fire department members. As we speak, a helicopter is landing in the back parking lot area.
We invited the Stat Flight helicopter on the Westchester County Medical Center to show us their equipment if we ever need them in the event of an accident or burn victim. And that's what we're doing now. We're going through with all the department members to show them their equipment and manpower and just to meet them.
For a lot of people don't know that the village of Mamaroneck has access to something like this in the event of an accident that's going to require quick response or quick transport to a medical facility.
Right now they're in service, I believe, 12 hours a day, and hopefully by mid or late summer they're looking to go into 24-hour operation. And so this is just another piece of equipment that's available to the fire department through the county, and this is county tax dollars, which you see here. So the money is put to use. It's here. It's available for the people of Westchester County, and we are just one of the agencies, along with all the other fire departments throughout the county, which have use of this vehicle.
With this, you could take them directly to the hospital. It would save time and a lot of pain, I guess.
The other function that we serve is interfacility transports for neonates, pediatrics, adult ER patients, and also burn patients. We cover the entire Albany area south to the New York City line. And we take high-risk labor and delivery patients.
We have the need if we have a patient that has to get up there in a hurry.
we have no other choice but to use this. It's a little expensive, but they get the job done.
Roger, overall there was an incredible turnout today by both members of the Village and Town of Mamaroneck fire departments, as well as both rescue squads. People from all over the community piled into the back parking lot here at Harbor Island to see exactly what went on. And for those of you who missed it, you can catch it all this month in its entirety right here on LMC-TV. For Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News, I'm Pat Michelizzi.
Thanks, Pat, and thanks to Debbie Slansky and Sandy Atchison for doing the location video for that report. Also, a special congratulations to Pat Michelizzi for being presented with the LMC-TV Volunteer of the Year Award at ceremonies last week in the Emlyn Theater.
Horseshoe Harbor Yacht Club has risen out of the ashes with a brand new look. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Oehme has the story.
Last April, the building housing the Horseshoe Harbor Yacht Club was destroyed in a fire, but now a new clubhouse has been constructed and opened for the summer season. From a distance, it is very hard to tell the difference between the old building and the new one. And that's exactly what the architects had in mind. They wanted to rebuild and recreate the charm of the former clubhouse and also make improvements where they were needed. The new clubhouse in Horseshoe Harbor sure looks nice, and next time you go down to the Manor Park, take a look.
Thanks, Sven.
Maybe mid-June, before the special boom to keep pollution out of a section of Harbor Island Park Beach is operational, the 600-foot curtain called Eco Boom cost $34,000 and is being delivered this week to the Village Recreation Department. Once it's all set, a 200-foot section of beachfront should be protected from floating garbage and post-rain pollution. Bill?
Mamaroneck town officials are trying to live up to their designation as Tree City, USA. They're putting up signs urging people not to dump pollutants in the sewer system, repairing vandalized bridges along the Leatherstocking Trail, and urging residents to help keep the town's 25 parks and conservation areas clean. The Friends of the Reservoir Group has pledged $2,500 to hire a pair of youths to work at the Larchmont Reservoir Conservancy. Beautification Day was a big success. Some 1,300 people turned out to clean up the parks and woods. Roger?
First of its kind in Larchmont, a bicycle rally. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Janice Arano has details.
Sunday, May 17th, was the first annual Tour de Larchmont, a non-competitive bike tour through the back roads of Larchmont. Almost 60 riders turned out to enjoy the 5-mile ride through village streets. Cyclists began their tour at Flint Park, traveled up Flint Avenue, past the Larchmont Yacht Club, then circling the park loop, passing Manor Park. Then the group rode down Prior Lane, Hazel Lane, Beach, and Prospect Avenues, then around Franklin Square. In the final leg, cyclists rode up Larchmont Avenue to Cherry Avenue, ending their beautiful ride at Flint Park. The race was sponsored by Larchmont Station Taxi. It donated clear plastic water bottles with the logo 1992 Tour de Larchmont. They were given out at the end of the course. We'll see you bikers next year.
Thanks, Janice. St. Thomas Episcopal Church in the village of Mamaroneck had its annual rummage sale. Sven Oehme says it was quite a success.
Recently, St. Thomas Episcopal Church held a 2-day rummage sale. Among the outstanding volunteers, Charlene Heiler and Strachalski, the co-chairs of the rummage sale. Irma Bremer, Beresford Proctor, who is 93 years old.
This is Roger Norm for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Home Fair is closing. By this time next week, about the only thing that you'll be able to purchase at this location here is camera and video supplies, and that section of Home Fair will be closing by the end of June. The reason Home Fair is shutting its doors here at the shopping plaza off the Post Road near Finast is business, or the lack of it. Some of the neighbors of Home Fair hate to see it go. Shoppers don't like to see it go either.
Well, I think Mamaroneck will miss it because we come here all the time.
I'm not from Mamaroneck, I'm from Rye Brook, but when I come down here, I always go in there and get a lot of different things.
Okay.
And I feel badly about it.
I feel very badly about it. I'm going to miss it. Yeah, it's a shame.
I'm very sad about it. I think it's a great store to have in town. Answered a lot of needs, easy to shop, and I think it's terrible that we're going to lose a little place like this.
What would you like to see come in its place?
The same thing, with 5 or 6 or 10 different departments so that it's convenient for shopping.
I don't really shop here that often.
I see. So you don't care one way or another?
Doesn't really matter. Thank you.
I'm a little disappointed about it because I think it's a great shop and it's very convenient because it's got all kinds of variety of merchandise between the hardware and the linens and the cosmetics and stuff. So I think it's going to be a missing link in Westchester. Sorry about it leaving.
It just goes to show you the sign of the times.
Excuse me.
Actually, Home Fair is a 15,000 square foot store housing 4 smaller stores: a linen shop, hardware business, stationery store, and the camera video department. Mamaroneck town officials say they're optimistic for any future tenant in the Home Fair location. One town council member is quoted saying that Finast is such a magnet, whatever goes in at the Home Fair location should do well. And there's an unconfirmed report that a long vacant nearby building, the former Horry Chevrolet on the Post Road at Weaver, is soon to get a new tenant, a Gap clothing store. All this happening, though, as Home Fair loses its home. Roger Norham for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. And that's it for another edition of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Remember, this program is repeated every morning at 10 a.m. Monday through Saturday, and every Monday through Friday night at 7 and again at midnight. If you have any comments or a news item, send it to LMC-TV News, care of LMC-TV, 1 Library Lane, Mamaroneck.
Also, a reminder that this is a news program that's an all-volunteer effort by your neighbors. If you think you might want to join in this fun community activity, stop by on a Thursday night in the LMC-TV studios in Mamaroneck High School, up the stairs across from Walter's Hot Dogs. We get things going about 7:30. Thanks for watching Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Bill Littauer. We'll see you next time right here on Channel 36.
From the Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club, and upon the response of one of our officers, Officer Mary Matero, she immediately went to the scene, which is the club cottage on the grounds of the Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club, and she immediately saw a body and realized that the person was DOA. She immediately called for backup, and she called for the immediate response of the Detective Bureau because she immediately suspected it was a homicide. Upon the arrival of the detectives and the rest of our officers, they found Mr. David Laux, who was the manager of the club, laying on his back in his cottage, and it looked like he was shot through the head because there was a lot of blood in the head area. And with that, the detectives arrived and they took over the full investigation. At this point, we can't seem to find a motive because we didn't find any evidence of a forced entry. We didn't find any evidence of a struggle, and also we didn't find anything that we know of that may have been stolen because there was jewelry and money in the house and so on. So we don't know at this time what the motive was. We suspect at this time that Mr. Laux did know whoever the person was.
Who killed David Laux? We'll have the latest on the police investigation.
We're all going to be paying higher water rates, and they may go up next year and the year after.
A break-in at an area restaurant by some thieves with very sophisticated taste.
Larchmont christens its $250,000 fire truck, and the Sarah Newman home plans an expansion.
And the runners are warming up at Flint Park. All that and more coming up.
Welcome to Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Bill Littauer. Our top story this week, Mamaroneck Village detectives are still working on the murder of David Laux, the manager of the Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club. Roger has the latest developments in the case now.
This is Roger Norham for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News. Who killed David Laux?
Chief Del Bianco, how is the investigation going?
Well, the investigation, of course, is continuing around the clock with Lieutenant Flynn in charge, of course, and his detectives. I know the detectives have been going at it systematically. They have interviewed probably close to 100 people so far. They're talking to employees, family, past employees, but we have no real solid leads as of this time.
Any idea as a possible motive?
None yet. No, we've been researching it. We've been going over all of our prior investigation. We've even gone down and looked over the cottage again, and we don't see any forced entry. We don't see anything missing to lead us to a burglary or a larceny or anything of that type. We still feel that it's someone that David knew. Whether it was a friend, acquaintance, or a past enemy of his, we don't know that either. But we feel he knew whoever the suspect may have been.
If anybody in the community has any idea that possibly may give you a lead or any help, who should they call?
Well, fortunately, we have received a couple of calls like that, and we certainly appreciate them because we'll run anything down. They could call here, ask to speak to Lieutenant Flynn in the Detective Bureau, or if they're not available, they can ask to speak to me personally. It'll certainly be kept quiet on who it is, and they'll remain anonymous, I should say. But any help from anyone will be appreciated. And even if they feel that, well, it may be worth something or not, don't hesitate. We would appreciate it.
Someone fired 2 shots from a .22 caliber revolver into the head of David Laux. His body was found 2 Thursdays ago in his cottage on the grounds of the Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club, right near the entrance to the club. David Laux had been manager of the club for 11 years. He was 52 years old. He had graduated from the Cornell University School of Hotel Management and had worked for both Hilton and Sheraton hotel chains. He was a 1958 graduate from White Plains High School. And Mamaroneck police continue to investigate the murder of David Laux. This is Roger Norham at the Mamaroneck Beach and Yacht Club for Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
Last Saturday was Miriam Kernan Day in the village of Larchmont. The gala affair at Flint Park was kicked off with a concert by the Westchester Brass Quintet. But since it was a farewell to 4-term Mayor Kernan, it was not without its political overtones. The Board of Trustees voted 4-1 to pay for the affair with public funds. The single dissenting vote was cast by Ken Bialo, a Republican. Still, it was quite a day for the popular former mayor.
The Mamaroneck Village Board has joined the town of Mamaroneck in improving higher water rates. The increase is 9% this year, effective August 1st. Rates were also raised last year and may go up again next year or in 1994. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Oehme discussed the reason for the rate hikes with John Hock, the general manager of the Westchester Joint Waterworks.
In our studio is John Hock, manager of the Westchester Joint Waterworks, and he's here to tell us about the increases in the rates that we have seen over the last 2 or 3 weeks. John, what can you tell us about it?
Well, we have recommended rate increases, and in the town of Mamaroneck, a 20% rate increase was adopted last week. And this week, the village of Mamaroneck adopted its rate increase, which was a 9% increase.
Well, what's the reason for these increases?
The main reason for these increases this year, and they're a sequel to the ones from last year, is the major capital improvements that we're making to enable us to meet the new standards set by the State Health Department based on the Safe Drinking Water Act. Mm-hmm. And one of the major projects that we're doing right now is up at Rye Lake, and that's an almost $4 million project. And these increases will enable the municipalities to cover the cost of their bonded indebtedness or their financing that they have to do for these projects.
Who owns the Westchester Joint Waterworks?
Actually, the Westchester Joint Waterworks, which is a non-profit public benefit corporation, is owned by the 3 member municipalities, the village of Mamaroneck, the town of Mamaroneck, and the town of Harrison. Those are our 3 owners, and each has a representative on our board of trustees.
And how's the progress of the work at Rye Lake?
Well, at Rye Lake, our contractor started work at the beginning of April, and he's moving along very nicely. And at this time, he has put in the sheet piling for the new clear well, which is the structure on top of which the pumps will be mounted and into which the water will come through a 36-inch intake line. And that excavation is progressing inside the caisson right now. And that's the first step in this major project.
And that'll be finished by the end of this year or before winter starts?
Well, the entire project should take about 18 months to complete by the time pumps and electrical equipment is delivered, and we expect to have the station in service by July 1st of 1993.
Replacement of the Larchmont Motel with low-cost housing is one step closer. Westchester County has finally approved release of $72,000 after the town board approved a contract with the county. The town can now formally hire the architectural firm of Perkins Eastman and Partners. They will design the 60-apartment project to replace the old welfare motel. Altogether, the county has pledged some $800,000 towards the project.
Larchmont Village officials have formally christened their new $250,000 fire truck. Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Sven Oehme has that story.
Larchmont firefighters celebrated the new fire engine's wet down during the Memorial Day weekend. Non-firefighters will refer to such a ceremony as the christening of the new truck. The new truck, Engine 34, is a $250,000 pumper that is replacing a 21-year-old truck which had become dangerous to use. Ex-Larchmont Fire Department Chief Paul Anderson served as Master of Ceremonies at the event. Speakers were Michael Wiener, Captain Engine Company Number 1, Eric Verhaaf, the current Chief of the Larchmont Fire Department, and Cheryl Louis, Larchmont's Mayor and Fire Commissioner. The event was attended by representatives from other fire departments, friends and family members of the Larchmont firefighters, village officials, and the general public.
2 weekends ago, a break-in at La Reserva restaurant on the Post Road in Larchmont near the New Rochelle border. It netted the burglar or burglars 4 bottles of Dom Perignon champagne and nearly $3,000 in cash. One of the restaurant workers told police when he came to work 2 Sundays ago he noticed the money and the champagne missing and reported no sign of forced entry. The guessing is either someone stayed in the restaurant while it was being closed up or possibly the door didn't lock shut at closing. Larchmont police continue to investigate. Bill?
The Mamaroneck Coast Guard Auxiliary had their base opening for the season a couple Sundays back. Now on the Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News line, Roger has Andy Stern with the Coast Guard Auxiliary.
Okay, on the phone line with us now is Andy Stern of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Andy, could you tell us what is meant by the opening of the Coast Guard Auxiliary base?
The base opening ceremony marks the beginning of our operations season, where we will be assisting the Coast Guard in its search and rescue efforts on Long Island Sound.
Now, this video that we're looking at is about 2 Sundays ago. Could you tell us about that event?
Yeah, we held it on Memorial Day weekend down on Harbor Island in Mamaroneck. And as I said, it marks the beginning of our operations season. At that ceremony, we recognized many of our graduates of our boating skills and seamanship course, which we gave to the public during the winter. In addition, we recognized some members of the auxiliary for certain achievements that they've made, as well as we were recognized, our flotilla, for achievements that we had obtained during 1991.
How large is the Mamaroneck Coast Guard Auxiliary?
We have just about 45 members to date.
Now, it's kind of interesting. You're talking to me from Rybrook. One would think that it would be all Mamaroneck residents. Not so.
I actually joined about 10 years ago when I was living in Scarsdale. I was a junior in high school then. But I've been doing most of my boating on Long Island Sound in the Mamaroneck area, and that's how I've hooked up with them.
So how does one get into and why should one join the Coast Guard Auxiliary if anyone out there that's listening would like to?
Well, anyone who is interested in some volunteer work and helping promote boating safety, it's an excellent organization to do that. To join, really, you only have a few qualifications. You have to be at least 17 years old, a U.S. citizen, and have an interest and some time. I welcome you to come down and join us at our next meeting or any meeting. We meet the second Wednesday of every month at 8 o'clock down at our building in the West Basin on Harbor Island.
And if anybody wants to find out more information, they can stop in that building and get the details.
That's right. We're there pretty much from now until Labor Day every Saturday and Sunday.
Very good. Andy Stern, thanks for talking with us on Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News.
You're welcome.
Our thanks to Andy Stern and especially to Debbie Slansky for shooting the video on the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Roger?
How do you go about searching for a new superintendent for the Rhinebeck School District? Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News reporter Ed Stein has the answer.
What is happening in Rhinebeck with the search for a new superintendent of schools? A lot of planning for a busy month of June, because June 30th is Dr. Frank Tassone's last day in that top position, and the clock is ticking. Then what happens on July 1st? By that time, the Rhinebeck Board of Education will have hired an interim superintendent on a per diem basis. That person can be an administrator already in the Rhinebeck system, or some former school superintendent from another district. 2 school board members that I spoke with said that they are hopeful that the best candidate will be found in June and approved by the community at large and formally approved by the Board of Education before the month is over. You see, on June 5th, applications are closed. And within a week, Bruce Bothwell, the consultant hired to screen the applicants, will come forth with the recommended 8 best candidates. Then the board members begin winnowing the list down to the final 4. Then all the various committees of teachers and parents and students and custodians meet and critique the 4 candidates and recommend to the Board of Education who is their #1 pick. Eventually, of course, it is the board who makes the final decision. Speaking for his fellow Rhinebeck board members, Miles Fetterman said, quote, "It means we'll be working a lot of Saturdays and Sundays to move this process along so that we have a superintendent selected as close to July 1st as possible," unquote. Now, if the chosen candidate comes from outside the system, then it will mean hiring the interim superintendent for at least 30 days. Simply because the chosen superintendent is required by contract to give 30 days notice to his current school system. However, if the candidate is ultimately selected from within the Rhinebeck School District, which is a possibility, then he can start work immediately.
New owners of the Sarah Newman Nursing Home are planning a major expansion of the 270-bed facility. The plan calls for a new wing with 40 more beds, an auditorium, boutique, and coffee shop. The plan was announced at a reception to celebrate the nursing home's new affiliation with the Jewish Home and Hospital for the Aged and Mount Sinai Hospital Medical Center. And Sarah Newman was dedicated as the Skirball campus in recognition of a $1.5 million grant from the Skirball Foundation. The nursing home is still challenging its tax status in court. The village of Mamaroneck is trying to keep it on the tax roll for $120,000. Roger?
Rung Rung Le is the Chinese teacher at Mamaroneck High School, but more than that, she is working at the national level, helping the people who put together the Scholastic Aptitude Test design a Chinese test. Roger Norham Jr., a familiar name, is taking Chinese with her and talked about the experience with Joe Chamberlain.
It all started with a grant from the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation, a philanthropic organization. What got started? Well, I'll tell you. The introduction of the Chinese language and culture to Mamaroneck middle and high schools. I have with me Roger Norham, who takes a class in Chinese language and culture.
That's right.
From Rong Rong Le?
Rong Rong Le, right.
Yes. Tell me about your class.
Well, it's a class composed of sophomores, junior, and I'm a senior. And it's a Chinese level 3 class. And the course is based on the study of Chinese characters, which is the real, the nitty-gritty of Chinese. It's really what founded the language. And upon that, we study oral speech, and in the speaking, we study the Mandarin dialect. And interspersed with all that is a lot of cultural activities, trips to Chinatown, paper cuttings, learning about Taekwondo and stuff like that.
I see. And tell me about your trips to Chinatown. I mean, do you see the fruits of your labor?
Well, she's been actually planning a trip to China since she got started 2 years ago, but she hasn't got the administration to pass on it. So hopefully next year she's looking forward getting a trip to China going.
I understand she's very highly credentialed.
Oh, she's been a great teacher for me. I've actually, this year I'm taking Chinese 3 and Chinese 4 because I started a year late, and I want to get a head start on my study of Chinese in college. So I'm meeting independently with her, actually, on her own time, to take Chinese 4 and get some extra studying in there. And she's just been an excellent teacher. She wrote recommendations for college, and she's been real supportive of my study.
I understand she's also helping to develop the college achievement test.
That's right. It's going to be the first College Board Achievement Test in Chinese. There's French, German, Italian, and Spanish, I believe. And she's working with the Educational Testing Service and a couple of other Chinese teachers in New York State to develop it. And I won't be able to take it. I'll be in college, but luckily it'll be a chance for some of the students coming up to show their expertise in the language.
And get your running shoes ready. Larchmont's answer to the Big City Marathon is just a matter of days now. The 14th annual 5-mile run and 3rd annual 1-mile run from Flint Park begin this Saturday at 10 a.m. Run organizers say that they'll be using a computerized scoring system similar to the type used in the Boston Marathon. There are 7 categories for all age groups from 14 and under to 60 and over. Trophies and ribbons will be awarded, and you can sign up this week at Larchmont Village Hall. Entry fees are $10 for the 5-mile run and $6 for the 1-mile run. The first 260 to sign up get T-shirts. Roger?
If you're planning to send your kids out for midget football this year, it's time to register. The Mamaroneck Midget Football League, serving Larchmont, Mamaroneck, Harrison, Rye, Rybrook, and Portchester, holds registration June 6th and 13th. Registration is for both players and cheerleaders. Ages 8 to 14 is from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the American Legion Hall in Mamaroneck. That's across from Village Hall. And it's on Mount Pleasant Avenue, across from the police station. Bill?
Mid-year tax planning. That's the subject of Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News' financial facts reporter, Randy Norham.
A few thoughts on the topic of mid-year tax planning. The first thought is that mid-year tax planning is very important to do. It could save you some dollars. The second thought is that we should all review our withholding. Compare your actual tax payments so far this year with what you expect to owe at the end of '92. If the difference is more than a couple of $100s, pick up a W-4 form from your employer and change your exemptions. The third thought, make your IRA contribution now. The earlier you invest, the more rapidly you accumulate tax-deferred interest.
Larchmont Village is trying to pep up its umbrella sales. Sven Oehme talked about the project with Larchmont Village trustee Marianne White.
Marianne White, trustee in the village of Larchmont, is in our studio today, and she will tell us about the first umbrella sales days that we will have this year in Larchmont.
Well, we're doing something a little bit different this year, and that's why I'm here to talk to you. Last March, Chase Manhattan Bank, the Larchmont Chamber of Commerce, and the Entrepreneurial Center at Manhattanville got together and hosted a special breakfast for the Larchmont business community. As an outgrowth of that, we've brought together a group of people called the Sounding Board that are working to improve the quality of the business district, because of course the whole quality of life in Larchmont is affected by the quality of the business district. And what's particularly exciting is that the Sounding Board is comprised of business owners, but also local residents and local village government. So we're taking on a number of different projects, and we wanted to do something fun and to build upon an existing event. So we decided to take the first umbrella sale days, which begin on Thursday, June 4th, then go the 5th and the 6th, and we're going to have a kickoff evening. Stores up and down Palmer Avenue will be opened from 6 to 8. We're going to have hot dogs, ice cream, popcorn. The Mamaroneck High School Jazz Band is very generously donating their time for free, and they get paid quite a bit. We're going to have magicians and other street entertainers. So we're trying to create a, a fun family event that will draw people and remind them to support the local business district.
And this will be all over the business district, or are there certain areas where it is concentrated?
Well, pretty much it's going to be in Palmer Avenue because that's where the stores are willing to be open late. One of the issues that the sounding board is addressing is trying to get feedback from the residents as to how they would like business owners to run their businesses. And, you know, would they like them to be open Sundays, Thursday evenings, whatever. So maybe a year from now, stores would be open Thursday evening all over Larchmont.
So the kickoff is June 4th, this Thursday, and it starts at 6.
It's 6 to 8, and it's very much a family event, and we want everyone to come and have a good time.
So hopefully the weather will be good.
Oh, my.
That we don't need the umbrellas.
Yes, you're right. They're just to look pretty.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
And that's our report for this week. If you missed any part of this newscast, you can catch up with the Larchmont Mamaroneck Community News every weekday morning and again at 7 p.m. and 12 midnight.
This is also an all-volunteer effort, and we'd love to have you get involved. Why not drop by this Thursday evening about 7:30 and see how we do it? You'll find us in the cable TV studio. It's in the Palmer Avenue building of Mamaroneck High School, just up the stairs from Walter's Hot Dogs. We'll look for you next week. I'm Roger Norham.
And I'm Bill LaTower. We'll see you here next week, too, at the same time on LMC-TV 36.